I almost dropped my coffee. I said, "My God, what are you talking about?" And he said, "That's American 11 that made that hole in the World Trade Center." And I said, "You're kidding me." And he said, "No, and there's another one that just turned south towards New York. We lost him too." And so basically I was watching in horror, expecting to see what we all eventually saw.
At the Dulles Tower, Danielle O'Brien also saw the TV pictures from New York and headed back to her post. Now to help other planes quickly land.
We started moving the planes in as quickly as we could. Then I noticed the aircraft. It was an unidentified plane to the southwest of Dulles, moving at a very high rate of speed. I had literally a blip and nothing more. I slid over to the controller on my left, Tom Howell, and I asked him, "Do you see an unidentified plane there southwest of Dulles?" And his response was, "Yes." "Oh my gosh, yes. Look how fast he is."
And then I said, "Oh my God, it looks like he's headed to the White House." I started yelling, John, we got a target headed right for the White House."
A representation of the FAA radar scope based on information obtained by 2020 shows the plane headed straight for what is known as P56, Prohibited Airspace 56, which covers the White House and the Capitol.
Have you ever planned for this kind of an attack in your experience at the Pentagon?
The attempt is to plan for everything, and there were always various discussions of what form an attack could take. Most likely one was a suicide car bomb or a bus or some heavy vehicle being driven up to the Pentagon, as happened in Beirut and in various other places. I think an aerial attack was considered not one of the things you heavily planned against. On the other hand, the city is ringed with Air Force bases and Navy bases, and the ability to get defensive planes in the air is very, very high, and at the same time you would do what is being done, and that is closing off the entire airspace so that you, in effect, the whole Washington area is a no-fly zone, so that any planes that can't identify themselves that get into that are to be shot down. And those are the orders. That was basically the response that was always contemplated.
Some bases covering the Washington, D.C. area. Langley with its fighters, approximately 10 minutes away. Then we have Patuxent, Maryland, mainly a test facility but has fighters, approximately 5 minutes away. And then, of course, we have Andrews, which, as soon as the fighters take off, they could launch their weapon and be within 1 minute away.
The Langley pilots told the commission they were never told they were pursuing hijacked planes. They thought they were pursuing the Russians and expected missiles coming in over the sea.
I've never seen so much real-world stuff happen during an exercise.
Meanwhile, back at the presidential bunker, a soldier comes in to inform Vice President Cheney.
The plane is 50 miles out. The plane is 30 miles out. The plane is 10 miles out. The young man also said to the Vice President, "Do the orders still stand?" And the Vice President turned and whipped his neck around and said, "Of course the orders still stand. Have you heard anything to the contrary?"
This is the final leg of the flight as provided by the NTSB. A 4,000 feet per minute descent rate from this speed, height, and distance will take you directly to the Pentagon. On a clear day such as September 11, 2001, there are plenty of landmarks in the area as well to guide you to the Pentagon. From the same distance, speed, and height, I experimented with this. You have the Washington Monument, of course the river, and Reagan National. Again, from the same speed, height, and distance, this is what one would expect to happen to spend the least amount of time in Washington airspace. Keep in mind that this aircraft is still not positively identified as American 77. Might expect to hit a large area. And for those who feel that he might have not seen it that far away, we'll fast forward it a little bit here, up to the point where he started the turn. From the same altitude, distance, and speed. Again, focusing on a large area. Or maybe directly from the top, or maybe the other side, or maybe where Rummy was sitting. Instead, the only recently reinforced portion of the Pentagon was reportedly struck. And instead of going straight, they decided to make this turn, exposing themselves to intercept. We'll let this play out in real time so you can see how long it actually is. And according to the government story, fighters are already airborne out of Langley, heading out over the Atlantic, the opposite direction.
Do you see an unidentified plane there southwest of Dulles? And his response was, yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Look how fast he is.
And then I said, oh my God, looks like he's headed to the White House. I started yelling, John, John, we got a target headed right for the White House.
The plane is 50 miles out. The plane is 30 miles out. The plane is 10 miles out. The young man also said to the Vice President, do the orders still stand? And the Vice President turned and put his neck around and said, of course the orders still stand. Have you heard anything to the contrary?
The city is ringed with Air Force bases.